everybody on this Thursday night, November the 17th, 2022. Two of the three panelists on Field of 68 After Dark were NBA draft first rounders. Can you guess who wasn't? Let's get it rolling. John Henson is with us. Randolph Childress is with us. Will we get any North Carolina Wake Forest trash talking tonight, gentlemen?
Not yet, because the Tar Heels, I'm worried about when they play a good team. So that's all I can really say right now.
Well, okay, so wait a minute. Yeah. Why?
I don't think they've looked strong as of late. I think defensively, it's something that they kind of need to work on, maybe that they've gotten away from, in my opinion, just from watching. They, these teams that they're kind of supposed to handle a little bit, even though they're pretty good teams, in their conferences. I'm a little worried.
Randolph, have you ever heard a North Carolina guy say, I'm not gonna talk. I'm not gonna talk at a Wake Forest guy.
He's just trying to be modest, man. They're the number one team in the country. Get out of here with that, man. They're number one team. But you're right. Honestly, being fair, they haven't. I think Hewitt would attest to this. They're not as defensively as locked in as you like for him, that team to be. And they had some teams early that they could have put away. I've been encouraged, though, because I think they're committed to their bench play. I don't think they got a ton of production, but they committed to them early, and I think that'll pay off. That'll pay dividends for them later in the year when they get into conference play.
I was mentioning to my boys, I was like, hey, was Roy Williams an underrated defensive coach? Is that something we didn't think about for a second? So, it's interesting. It's very interesting to see that, like the new kind of Hubert Davis type of style of play, man.
Sure. Well, we have a big show for you all as Feast Week has really revved up. Myrtle Beach, Charleston Classic. It was so great to wake up this morning and turn on the TV around 11:30 a.m. and see Penn State playing Furman and just watch basketball. Reminds us what the next 10 days are like. Right. And that, we forget it's the second week of the season. Right. And these Feast Week tournaments are revving up. Not much time, not a whole additional week built in. That's the other side of the start to the season, and now you rev up and you've got just a little more than a week in, you've got these teams playing some really critical resume games. At 11:15, we'll have Steve Prohm. He is the head coach of Murray State. He is a Field of 68 alum, and he is the star. He's the star of the night, Randolph Childress, because his Racers pulled off an amazing win over Texas A&M.
They play well tonight. You got to be proud of Steve. I mean, just the way his team came out to play, really from start to finish. I thought they came out from the start to finish. And, I mean, they had a little letdown there, in the second half to start the second half, but they finished the game strong. I mean, I was really impressed with them. I'm not – we know him. We know his staff. We knew there was no quitting those guys, but they handled everything about Texas A&M pressure and all the talk about how good their team was. I mean, Murray State looked like the better team for 40 minutes, or at least 30 out of 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these kind of games that, the underdogs win, they come out and they jump on them, right? They jump on these teams, and then they can then it's a ball game. And I think that's what the teams, Murray States of the world, UMass when they come out and jump on them, it's a ball game. So I think that's kind of what I've been seeing these last, few days, those teams kind of coming out and not playing scared.
Well, in these tournaments too, I mean, playing these big games, John, you talked about doing feast. I mean, fans are doing Feast Week. It's different because there's not really home court advantage.
Right.
It's a neutral site game, and you'd be surprised at some of with some of these locations, some of the mid-major programs and smaller programs they're traveling. And so it's not that, it's not a home court advantage for some of these teams when they come. You're making that assumption, and the kids are just playing. They're just feeding off of it. They hit shots early, and you watch these games and teams come out early, and it just trickles down. And I was really impressed with Murray State today. I mean, we know those guys really well, and I'm cheering for those guys. But to see them come out today and answer the bell now, I know they're going to celebrate tonight and right back at it tomorrow. But you got to be proud of what they showed tonight.
Gotta tell you, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead. That was good.
As we looked at the day, there was a lot that happened today, and there's a lot happening right now. I mean, you think about what's going on in Brooklyn. We got to talk about this because in the Legends Classic, folks, little less than 11 minutes are on the clock, and Bobby Hurley his Arizona State Sun Devils are up 64-43 on Michigan.
Right.
On Michigan, a top 20 Michigan team with Hunter Dickinson back. Yeah, with some new pieces and parts. But John Henson, what the hell is happening in Brooklyn tonight?
I think that's a test of the neutral site. And then, also I think Michigan started off slow. Hunter Dickinson was missing a few bunnies, a few layups, and getting the shot blocked a little bit by the bigs, and it was bothering him in the guard play. Jet Howard was kind of the only guy that kind of came to play early, and Arizona State's good enough to where once they got rolling, as you guys saw, it wasn't no stopping them. I mean, everything they shot, it was cash. It wasn't hitting the rim, So it's got to be ready.
One thing I'll add to that, John, and we're seeing this in some of these early games, and I know we're going to talk about the Texas and Gonzaga game.
Yep.
When you have these bigs, and this you can look at this at any level, what I'm about to say. When you have these bigs, if they're not dominant on the offensive end, they're playing back in drop coverage. And, John, you know this. If you're letting guards come off and get downhill, we're going to get a shot. Good guard play, because you're just sitting in a lane, and I'm just coming off getting ahead of steam, whether I'm shooting. And then if I contest and you come up, my big is getting the tip dunk or follow up. It just gives you opportunity. So with these big physical bigs we're talking about, if they're not dominating the game on the offensive end, I won't call them a liability.
I was going to say liability.
You put so much pressure. You put so much pressure on the rest of your team when you do that. And I know you can understand that, because having those different coverages, when bigs are just sitting back in the lane trying to keep everything in front, you putting so much pressure on those guards, and that's a lot to ask.
It's a lot of pressure on the guards, and as especially this new basketball, right? If Hunter Dickinson's down there making good moves, getting tough scores down there, I think we live with that, right? He's got to literally, like you say, dominate, offensive rebound, unstoppable, maybe call a few double teams for him to be, these big guys to be effective. And I think we're seeing that, and especially these teams with those kind of mobile hybrid bigs of Virginia Tech, which is a team I love, those guys that can kind of play a little bit. Those are the tough teams these days.
I mean, Arizona State is up 25 right now. And for what it's worth, I know it's a neutral court. I know the game.
Right.
I understand that. It is a pro-Michigan crowd. Let's face it. And Randolph, we were talking about this before the show.
It's cold up here too.
Folks, it's Arizona State. And a lot of people have been critical of Bobby Hurley the last couple of years. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been critical of him, but he could have been off to a different job. COVID affected where he kind of was. And entering this season, it was thought to be a critical year. Let's face it, his seat was hot, but he went out, he got the Cambridge brothers. He went out and brought in several transfers. He's got a guard in DJ Horn, who, as a junior from Raleigh, North Carolina, has 16 tonight. Desmond Cambridge has 20 in this game. Like, it's not for a lack of ability to bring in guys. Randolph, what do you make of Bobby Hurley and Arizona State and everything happening right now in a much-needed game? A much-needed game for the Pac-12.
The league needed it. I think the league needed it because from early on, everyone was talking about this was the worst Power 5 conference, and so the league needed it. And I'm happy for Bobby. He had some good teams. COVID just killed him. I know there's been some, a lot of discussions about the facilities and everything there. I just thought, for me, I wasn't advocating thinking that he was going to get fired. I thought he would just leave. I just thought there'd be a mutual agreement. There'd be teams he'd come back further east where he has ties and get a job there. But again, big win for him. I'm happy for him. Obviously they got a lot of basketball left to play, but this is a resume builder for these guys going later in the year, because everyone was talking about the Big Ten having maybe 10 teams. This is the best conference, maybe not a dominant team, but right now, I mean, we'll talk about that. Maybe who is that team in the Big Ten, but from a depth standpoint, we thought this was the best team in the league. And you can't, people are going to remember this. This is a dominant performance. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Michigan's getting their ass kicked.
For sure. I mean, this could propel them to a great season. Obviously, Hurley's a great coach down there. I love Hurley. Wish he had, the things he needed to really build a program, but he has essentially kind of made Arizona State a little relevant, man. We talk about him, we see him. It's not like we've forgotten about him. And like I said, a much-needed win for the conference. because the Pac-12, is struggles sometimes, man. Struggles.
Well, Fanta, like I'm saying, I mean, when you watch the games, it's the guards that are killing Michigan, and it's hard to do that. And it's hard. And John, you know what I mean when I say this. When you have a big that can't come out on the perimeter to guard, and you got to keep him in the paint, he better dominate on the other end and control tempo. You got to literally run your offense through him.
Right.
If you know, because he's having trouble defending these guards coming off handoffs, playing on the perimeter, and Arizona State guards just lighting their ass up. Ain't no other way to describe it.
I guess the thought process is to that end. When you have an elite big on paper in Hunter Dickinson, how do you mesh that with a new look backcourt and be able to be functional? Because tonight they're not functional.
I think for like traditional big to be successful, in my opinion, you got to start feeding him early and get him going, and then you can kind of play from there. If you don't, as a big, you don't get your touches early. You may not go as hard on the offensive rebound. Hey, you may not get back as fast. When you get your big boys some buckets and some easy buckets, he's going to be a little more aggressive on that pick and roll. He's going to guard a little more. So I think that's kind of what Michigan needed to do. And, with the guard, these days with the guard play, right, it's kind of how the game is going. But with a dominant guy, National Player of the Year candidate type guy, feed the big fella until you can't feed him no more, or he doesn't make shots, and then we play from there. So I think that was something that Michigan, even all these teams with these other bigs, kind of need to look at.
You need to do it because on the other end, I'm putting you in a ball screen every time down the floor. That's the game plan. Mm-hmm. So you got to go to him before he fatigues, because on the other end, he's going to be involved in every action, because I know I got to get you out the paint. I can't go attack John. I'm not going to go in there and attack you at the rim. I got to pull you out, and that's going to be the game plan. So I'm going to make sure I work you on the defensive end. They need to make sure they feed them on the offensive end.
All right, let's bring in our special guest, the Murray State Racers. What a win, 88-79 over 24th ranked Texas A&M, and Murray State moving on with a statement win in the Myrtle Beach Invitational. The head coach of Murray State is a Field of 68 alum.
Nice.
There's nobody
nice.
we'd rather be talking to than Steve Prohm. Coach Prohm, congratulations and welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark.
Man, I'm on here, man, and I don't have any notes to prepare, man. I can and just wing it, man. And then I was texting with Randolph off air. The Skins, the Commanders won 4-5, man. So, man, we're good, man.
It's a good day.
It's a great day.
So it's a great day. Coach, and it's great to call you Coach. I mean, I just working with you last year, we all love working with you. And we got a new member of our family, John Henson, on here tonight with us as well. But Steve, what's that emotion being back in the hotel room and your kids get a top 25 win, 10 days into your first season back at Murray State?
Yeah, well, I think it just speaks volumes about the program. To be honest, this is a special program, and it's been like this for a long, long time, going on for years. And just a win like this tonight, I mean, Ja Morant and Evan Brown, Popeye Jones. I mean, so many different people you hear from, Isaiah Cannon, Juwan Long, just guys who Coach Kennedy, who I was here. I think that's the great thing. We have an unbelievable fan base. If you could see that on TV, that come out and support and really follow and pull for us. But we've got a special program here, and it's been like this for a long, long time. Matt did a phenomenal job. Coach Kennedy, it goes back a long, long way. Mick Cronin. We've had a lot of special people and players here.
I got to ask you, Steve, you only played 7 guys tonight. It's that indicative of how you plan on playing it this year, or did it just turn out this way in today's game? I know, Texas A&M like to throw a lot of bodies at guys, and, you guys, it was a little bit concerning to start the second half. They came out, they went up. And when you're not a deep team, your team just responded and came right back. Is that just, what's your formula for your team going forward? Is it the way it is now, or you going to see things changing?
We'd like to play 9 guys if we can. We've got 7 upperclassmen. We've got 13 brand new guys. We had DJ Burns come back out of our 13 scholarship guys. The other 12 are new. but 5 of those guys are freshmen, and one guy's a sophomore that didn't play much as a freshman, so he's almost a freshman in a lot of ways. And just with the physicality and the toughness that Buzz Williams and Texas A&M play with, it was hard to get some of those young guys in there where the game can go. You can lose it quick, in a 6-0 run, a 7-0 run. And so, you kind of get through this first game sometime with your top 7, but we know, talking tonight as a staff, we've got to try to get 8 and 9 out there tomorrow and as we go on to Sunday. But we'd like to play 9. I've got to get, in the first couple games, we've played a couple freshmen, and I'm excited about our freshman class. We've got to get a couple out there and start to establish some minutes for them, though.
Steve, question: was there a point in time, being as recently on the player side in the first half, where was there a play or a possession or maybe a run that you said, all right, hey, look, these boys are going to be all right. This is going to be a good game for us?
Yeah, I think we just got off to a great start. It was 5-0. Kenny White, just a wing player for us, made a 3 in the corner. We're up 12-6. I thought just when we were matching their toughness and that we were competing the right way and really trying to defend, and they're a tough team to rebound against. We are a little small, but just we had fight. And then, they changed defenses. They pressure a little bit. And it's not the first play out of the ball screen that you're going to get. It's the next play. And when guys were starting to make the next play, the extra pass, sharing the basketball, I knew we had a chance. And, we closed the first half really well. We had a big 3 late to go up 35-28, or a layup at the buzzer. That was huge to go from 5 to 7. But I think, we've grown a lot from the St. Louis game. St. Louis is really good. And, we went up there not knowing where we were. And I think our guys got humbled. We all got humbled to where it's like, all right, this is what it takes if you want to be good at this level in these leagues. And so this was a great step for us. The biggest turning point tonight, it's 60-58. We called timeout. Our bench was great. Our guys were mature. They handled it. We go 10-2 run, 70-60, and that really helped us, finish the game out.
Steve, Jacoby Wood goes for 23 points, 4 assists. He's a transfer from Belmont. What impressed you the most about what Jacoby did in this win over Texas A&M?
I thought he had great poise all night. I thought he had really good poise. The guys looked to him for a lot of leadership. He made shots, and then he made free throws down the stretch. I think that was another big thing. We got him at the line. We got Rob Perry at the line. But Jacoby made shots. He was good in pick and roll. And, the way they guard ball screens, we're fortunate. We have a couple front court players that are skilled that we can throw out of the ball screen and let them go make a play. Jamari Smith, DJ Burns, some of those guys, and we were able to do that. But I thought he had an even temper all night. He communicated well with the bench. It wasn't too high, wasn't too low, and I thought he did a really, really good job tonight for us.
Hey, Steve, these MTEs give you a chance. You're going back to back. You won't do this again until probably conference tournament play and going forward. How do you prepare your team? Is there anything you've learned that you've changed? Because it's all, as you're in it, and then you spend the year watching everything. What have you changed for stuff like this? Has anything changed, I should say, in your coaching philosophy from sitting out a year? Because when you go straight through and then things just slow down, you get to watch, you get to pick up other ideas. Like, is there something that you're adding now that you didn't do before to help your team prepare for this moment?
I think the biggest thing we're trying to do is trying to get back to being what Murray stands for. And I think maybe I got away from that a little bit then, maybe at my last year or so at Iowa State. We got to be tough. We got to have great grit to us, and just continue to play the right way. And I thought that's what I was most pleased about tonight, is just our guys were tough. But I think in tournament play, especially right now, man, the locker room's great, and it's great for that moment, but it's 3 games in. Right. And so it's like, why were we good tonight? Can we have great humility? Right. Okay. And can we turn the page when we wake up in the morning and understand, all right, if we want to belong, if we want to be in this arena for these type of moments and these type of games, then how did we get there? And I think just humility is the one word that will stick with me, and I'll always challenge our guys with that, is you got to stay humble, because once you start feeling yourself or it's about me, man, they're going to come get you. And that's just how it's always worked. And so, but, from sitting out, I obviously, I have a good piece about myself now getting in here, being back in Murray. It's a place I've got a great comfort level, great relationships. I care a lot about this university and this program. And I think it's really about just getting these guys understanding how important our relationships are and how important this program is to so many people. And that's their biggest building blocks. And this was just one step. I think this team has a chance to do some good things. We're not where we need to be today, but this was a big first step.
Go ahead, John. You got anything?
No.
I'll tell you what.
Man,
go ahead, John.
Just talking to you for a little bit, and seeing the energy and the feel for you. There's no brainer you guys are going to win today, and then tomorrow I think it's the same thing. So, it's super cool to see. I'm just being on the other side now. It's kind of interesting to just see the analysis. Especially my college days, I had a lot of fun and a lot of tournaments and things like that. So this is just super cool, man.
Prohm, give Henson some advice here about After Dark and kind of how how does he deal with us?
Hey, you got a great group. These guys are the best. You'll have the best time. I tell everybody, man, I had the best time on this show last year. I enjoyed the group. Though Randolph's a Cowboys fan, hopefully they start slide. John likes the Browns. Who's your team? Who's your NFL team?
Who's mine?
Yeah.
I like the Buccaneers, man. I'm a Tampa guy. So,
they suck. They're in the conversation. Hey, Steve, I got to pick on you a little bit. Don't let Antoine off the hook. Antoine he's a Cowboys fan. He's a closet Cowboys fan. So he a DC guy, but he a Cowboy fan like me. So y'all got some bragging rights going on, some betting going on. Come
he told me he knew you because I told him we had worked together. He said he knew you, but he's diehard Cowboys. I know that, but man, it's great people. It's great to be on here. I was looking forward. I was like, man, I can't wait first big win to jump on here. And man, you'll have a lot of fun with these guys. And I appreciate you guys having us on.
Good luck tomorrow, man.
If we had told you,
tomorrow. We're cheering for you.
Thank you.
If we had told you 1 year ago today, that a year later you'd be lining up on Friday, November 18th, 2022. And you'd be the head coach of Murray State, and you look down, and there's Frank Martin and UMass. I got to say, in a winner's bracket game where Colorado and A&M, they're in the loser's bracket. What would you have said to us?
I'm lucky. I'm very fortunate. I've been in really good programs. Iowa State, though 6 years there, but man, phenomenal fan base. Murray State's a special place. Great to be here and excited to see where we can go. And hopefully we can have great humility tomorrow and compete the right way and put ourselves in a position to play for a championship on Sunday.
It's the first win over a ranked team in the Associated Press Top 25 for Murray State since they beat St. Mary's in 2012. What a victory. They get UMass tomorrow. That is going to be a lot of fun when the Racers take on the Minutemen. Steve Prohm, it was so great to see your face. Thank you for not talking about my football team.
Thanks, man.
And good luck tomorrow.
Good luck, Steve.
Thanks, man. See you guys.
Good luck. Yes, sir.
There he is, man. There are people in this business, whether it be coaches, players, guys like yourselves that we get to work with, that they're even better people than they are in their profession.
Right.
And I thought C.J. Moore, who does a great job covering college basketball, he tweeted out earlier that Steve Prohm took a year to learn some things about himself and adapt and grow and move forward. And he's one of the good guys. And I got to say, RC, we got a firsthand look at it. And sometimes taking a year, you just heard what Steve Prohm, what the last year of his life has meant to him. It allowed him to almost kind of flush away the bad,
right,
and look at where he's most comfortable. And I think where Steve Prohm's most comfortable is being the head coach of Murray State.
When you step back from it and when you're down in it, you're just doing it for so long. When you start stacking years coaching, all of a sudden, when you take a year out of it, and the reason I asked him that was because I could relate to that. And all of a sudden I found myself studying and watching stuff and saying, you know what, if I get back in it, this is what I'd like to do. And you start implementing so many more things. But the other thing is you're just so at peace with it. It's a calming effect that, you know what, when I come back, you're so riled up before, about everything. And then I just think after a while, you're just like, you know what? If I get back in this, there's some things I want to change. I want to implement this more. I want to get better at this. And a lot of times you just have to do with you being at peace with it, and you're going to learn more things. And then, you implement those things, but you're just so much more at peace when people come back for a second time, because there's a level of, like he said, humility and appreciation for what you're doing. Before you just get in it and you go, you're just thinking this is supposed to be, it's nonstop. It's almost like you lose something or something's taken away from you. And then when you get to crack at it again, you just have an appreciation for it. And you want to share that with everyone else. And you got to be happy for him, because he was fun to work with. And I'm really, really cheering for him. I know we all are.
He's a great dude. I mean, he got me ready to commit. You know what I'm saying? I forgot how smooth these college coaches and how cool and calm, collected they are, man. Like, yeah, I love watching them play today. I mean, literally talking to them and seeing the team, being as I didn't really know them very well, it kind of all made sense, and how they played and the spirit they had. And, I think I don't want to jinx them, but I think they got a really good chance, man, to make some noise, especially with the team tomorrow, man. If, they can kind of, like you said, stay humble, be able to handle prosperity. They've got a shot, man. I like them.
Well, we'll stick in the Myrtle Beach Invitational. And if there's a team that has embodied what college basketball is this time of year, no team exemplifies that more than Colorado. They lost to Grambling, who's in Jeff Goodman's top 25. We're going to get to that in a little bit. RC has a message to at Goodman Hoops. It's coming up. They then beat Tennessee. So today they show up against UMass. I got to be honest, guys. I turned the game on. I'm thinking this could be a tough day for UMass. Colorado's got some momentum on their side. Maybe KJ Simpson and company can keep the momentum rolling in this tournament. UMass wins 66-63. They defended. They won tough. This is a great win for Frank Martin. RC, what'd you see?
When you play against Frank Martin team, it's toughness, right? And you better be prepared to come out and compete. And we all thought, I was originally thinking like this was going to be a runaway. I thought Colorado just was playing better, thinking that they were going to come out so strong and just kind of dominate this game, and anything but that. But again, when you play with a level of toughness, and we just heard Steve say this about their group, when you're playing against a Buzz Williams teams, you're going to play against a level of physicality and toughness, and you better match it if you plan on winning that game. And today, I don't think Colorado, they just didn't score, didn't answer it as much. It's kind of like what Gonzaga did. They take you out of it, and you got to be able to make some adjustments. I don't know if Colorado did that today. They shot at only 34% from the floor. They were like 24% from three.
Yep.
But that's what pressure does to you. That's what it does to you. And you need more balanced scoring with that. And they can't rely, they're just too reliant upon, on a guard play, on KJ Simpson to play well. And today wasn't one of his better games. He was, shot like 25% from the field. I think he was like 4 for 15, 4 for 16 tonight. And he needs to play well for them in big games for them to win those kind of tough games. And he didn't tonight.
Yeah, I think, especially in college, you have to impose your will or your style of play. And I still have nightmares of playing Wisconsin in a 50-point game in North Carolina, and it's a ball game because they impose the will. So I think that's what UMass did today, specifically Conti going at, Lawson Lovren, the big boy down there, and kind of giving it to him a little bit. I think that's kind of set the tone, man, and I don't think Colorado was ready for that physicality. As we said, Gonzaga wasn't either. It just I don't think sometimes when you get out there and you feel it, it's different than watching it on film.
And John, you were telling me before the show, I want you to share with America a little of your thoughts on Frank Martin and Mike Beasley and just like Frank at UMass.
Bees. So I play with Bees, and Bees loves Frank Martin. I mean, literally, every summer he was going out to K-State, wherever he was at, and he spends a week there, man. And so I think that's just a testament to how he gets his guys to rally around him and play for him. He fights for his guys, as we all know. And so I'm not surprised, man, that they won today. And he's been in those big games. And I think UMass kind of is one of those jobs where, if he can get it together, especially with the portal being how it is now, it could be kind of a sleeping giant, man. So tomorrow, with these two coaches, these are kind of two kind of sleeping giants that maybe can make some noise come, March, because nobody's really established, a hierarchy right now in anything in college right now.
No, and Frank Martin was an instant game changer for UMass and is going to continue to be. He's going to be able to bring in talent there. He's going to raise the profile. So that's an interesting game tomorrow. And to think that Colorado and Texas A&M are meeting in a loser's bracket game in Myrtle Beach is just – that is something that I could not have predicted, but here we are.
That I tell you what, it's a lot riding on that game tomorrow. You finding yourself
Right.
I mean, both of those teams, as far as their postseason hopes, they're in must win. I mean, Colorado more than A&M because A&M is, obviously ranked in the top 25. They'll drop, but they're right there. But again, for their resume and going forward, because they got a tougher bracket. I mean, they're going to be playing when they get in conference play. This losses now hurt you later on, and you got to win these games when you're battling these conferences. If you're not going to finish in the top 3 or 4 in your league, then you're gonna look back. We always talk about this, John. At the end of the year, when we're doing these blind resumes, these are the type of games that we're going to be looking at when we say, all right, blind resume over this, over these wins. And people take it for granted. And coaches want to complain about how many teams their conferences should be in. These games matter, and you better be prepared, against these games, in these games early on.
You are so right.
Right. No, I agree with that. I mean, I think this is almost a must-win for Colorado because A&M is going to be able to. I think UMass is a good team, but A&M is going to be, A&M is going to be able to kind of get back into it if they have to. They'll be playing some good teams or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think Colorado has to win tomorrow because we don't even know what is this team. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's going to happen personally. So it's going to be tough sledding. You know what I mean? Because A&M's angry right now, and they they see that ranking beside their name, and that's a big deal, man, in college, man. You want to be playing for something at all times. So
they're going to be challenged with a toughness that they didn't answer necessarily today, and that's going to double tomorrow. And they're going to have to be prepared to come out against an angry A&M team that's going to play with the same physicality that UMass played today. And so hopefully I'm pretty sure they'll step up and compete, but they need Simpson and guys playing a little better than they played today.
Here's the deal. Feast week is one of the most critical weeks of the entire college basketball season. It might just be 2 weeks into the season, not even with these events going on right now. But in a world where you're going to play your league throughout January and February, what your league's profile is when the calendar turns to January, what people think of your conference is what they think. It's not going to change because by then you're playing each other. And if you don't have a non-conference resume stored up, it doesn't matter how much you beat each other up. That's what the Big Ten has done well in recent years. It's what the ACC failed to do last season. And that's why when the ACC had a great March, guys, a lot of people were shocked, but a lot of people turned their clicker off the ACC in January and February because they said, I'm not watching this league because I have formed my view on it after watching it in November and December. This point in the year decides how much money your conference is going to make come March. Because if you've got the resume wins, if you go 500 in a power league, you're going to make the NCAA tournament because your league's going to benefit as a whole.
John, you know this, and we're both ACC guys, so we're biased to that. But what we have to be honest with is that you have to every year you got to check that resume. We can't do it off reputation. You can't make the assumption from when I played or when you played. In the league, it's every year, every few games. I mean, you're checking that resume every year, and so the Big Ten ACC Challenge matters. It matters. Like winning those games matter. Playing these early games, they matter because at the end of the year, you got to come up with something more other than just saying, "Hey, I played in the ACC or I played in the Big Ten." Because as we're finding out this early time tells you there's a lot of mid-major teams that should be playing in the NCAA tournament. They're good enough. And particularly now, more than ever with the portal, there are no easy games. There's no easy wins. You take them as you can get them. But for a lot of teams that are in a bubble, and there's not a lot of spots. I mean, I know that's a whole nother conversation when we're talking about adding teams. When you talk about the automatic bid and then you talk about the teams that's going to finish up in the top 20 in the country or so, top 30 teams, they're going to take up those spots. There's really not a lot of spots left in that. So A lot of this matters, and a lot of teams are building their resumes right now, whether they like it or not, whether you're trying to – and this is what hurts those teams. And, John, we talked about this when we were at the Champions Classic.
Yes.
When you try to play this cupcake schedule, when you try to avoid all this – avoid it. And I get it. And I defended it. I understand, because when you're thinking about the job, I got to get wins. But when it comes to the tournament time, if you don't play a great non-conference schedule – you damn sure better have a hell of a year in your conference and finish in the top 4 or 5 in your conference. If you do not, be quiet, go home, take your 20 wins, and just take it and be happy with it. But you're not deserving of getting in the tournament. I don't care where you play.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you got to find a balance of, we play these teams that we can get wins over and find out about ourselves a little bit before we have to play the big dogs. But also playing the big dogs is something like, like the Big Ten AC Challenge. I had that circle, right? I thought that was a big deal. You keep tally. It's a competitive thing. And, I think that matters in the scheme of things. And, the Big Ten early in the season has been beaten on the ACC lately. But, that's just –
that's why look how many teams from the Big Ten have been getting in. That's why the pendulum has swung till the Big Ten getting teams in.
Yep.
And so now people get to say things like, with the success of the ACC at the end of the year, you know what? I'm going to ask you this because you're an alum. We got to put you on the spot. Did you think the Tar Heels prior to the last month or so, did you see that coming?
I did not see it coming. And, there was a classic case of them boys just got hot, right? And I think even, kind of going on to this year, they're trying to continue that style of play, but they got hot. Caleb Love, RJ got, Armando was Brady Manic. I mean, shot 50% from hit 18 threes, something crazy. So teams get hot, and I think North Carolina just got hot. You know what I'm saying? And with them beating Duke, I think that was a confidence booster. But like you said, it before that tournament, I mean, it was looking sketchy a little bit for him, and so that's a good point. I mean, you got these wins matter, and like say Colorado tomorrow, A&M. That's a win. That's especially for Colorado, if they can get that, it's going to kind of boost their resume because the Pac-12 is not that strong. And even with UCLA playing, I think the Illinois tomorrow, I think that's a conference kind of boosting battle. I think Illinois is going to destroy them personally, but that's just it's fun, man. Just kind of seeing these conferences go at it.
Why do you think Illinois is going to destroy UCLA?
I just think that they defend at a high clip, and they get after it. They rebound at a high clip as well, even though they haven't played anybody. You defend and you rebound, you're going to beat people straight up in college basketball. So that I think that's what it is. And UCLA is a 3-point shooting team as well. So I think with Shannon Jr. and he's averaging 20 a game this year. I don't know.
Very good.
He's been very good. I think that's a sneaky game for UCLA. I think
you said it's going to be a blowout.
I just think I won't call it a blowout. When I say beat down, I'm just saying wire to wire. Hey, look, you know what I'm saying. Illinois is going to take it to them. I mean,
I don't know if I can agree with you on that one. I'm not going to jump on that one early, but
don't do it. You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward the Bruins on that one early on. Okay. I do like Illinois. They're two well-coached teams, but I do think toughness is something that UCLA has. I just think they're really, really talented and they got deep. I mean, I think Goodman picked them to win a national championship, didn't he? Early in the year, I think early on, this is a game that they have the experience to win. I love their guard play, and so they're going to be one of the teams I expect to be very impressive at the first month of the season.
I actually, because I looked it up today, they're ranked 32 in points per game, giving up to 56. They're 12 in rebounds per game.
But one thing I'm going to tell you why I don't like the analytic things early on, because sometimes that can be off the competition that you're playing, and there hasn't been enough quality opponents matched up with each other to be fair. Where I can say, okay, if you're number one offensive rebounding team, if I've scheduled low major teams and I won by 30, then those numbers are skewed right now. So as we start, tomorrow's a big test for both teams. I mean, I think we're seeing, we've seen that throughout the country. We saw it at the Champions Classic. You saw Gonzaga respond. There's not a lot of teams playing like Gonzaga and Michigan State that are just saying, hey, bring on everybody. We're going to go play the best competition out there. There's not a lot of coaches that kind of subscribe to that kind of competition.
And then, but see the same thing. UCLA hasn't played anybody either, and they're 123 in rebounding. So that's kind of where I got that number from. They both have played cupcakes, but they're in drastic different rebounding and kind of numbers, and that, especially on the boards in college boards matter. You know what I'm saying? When I was in school, we were the number one rebounding team in the country, and that kind of translated to a lot more wins, a lot more possessions, a lot less possessions for the other team.
All right. It's 11:40.
We in the group chat. I'm gonna hit you tomorrow. We gonna talk about this.
I got to tell you, if you're right, Illinois would send a message to the rest of the nation that they could be argued as the best team in the Big Ten, and they're not the only Big Ten team that's going to face a big test tomorrow. We will get to that. We'll get to Friday games very soon, but we got to talk about what happened last night. What happened last night was Chris Beard said he hit a grand slam over the summer with Tyrese Hunter. Texas boat race Gonzaga. You do not see Gonzaga. I don't care if the game's played on Mars. You don't see Gonzaga get commanded, get really dominated blitzed on a night. They got blitzed. Yeah. Was it more to you? This is the hard question, John Henson. Was it more to you that Gonzaga's got more concerns than they've had in recent years, or that Texas should be regarded as a legitimate Final Four candidate this season?
All right, so I'm gonna bounce back to Randolph and say, all right, it's early, right? It's early, but Gonzaga struggled against Michigan State as well. The guard play is a little shaky. They got what we call our traditional big, and a traditional big one can't really carry the squad. You got to have guard play, and I think that was the difference of the game. Shout out to Dylan Mitchell, Tampa kid, man. I hope he plays well this year, man. That's my guy, you know what I'm saying? So he was on my AAU program, so, I love Texas. I love everything they have going on. Beard has kind of sunken his claws into that program, and as you saw last night, I think they're primed. The Texas we've seen the last few years, they play well, and then they midway through the season, they kind of fall off, and so, hopefully they keep going, man.
John, the guard play is concerning because they got punked, but I don't want to overrate it as much. There's talent there, and Texas played. I mean, the reason I said it is because Hunter, Tyrese Hunter was great last night. He played. I mean, he played out of his mind, but he hasn't been that. You're talking about a guy that shot 27% from three a year ago, right? And if you look at his stats and you say, oh man, if you look up right now and be like, oh, he's shooting 40%. Well, he's shooting 40% because he made 5 threes yesterday. Right. Going into yesterday's game, he was 1 for 7. Right. So which guy am I going to get? Do I think he's improved? I do. I don't worry about him defensively. Mm-hmm. I'm just worrying about him consistently knocking down jump shots like he did last night. I mean, last night he looked like Steph Curry out there at one point. The way he was and I'm joking about it, but seriously, I think now again, you can't take anything away from him. I'm just saying there's not that much of a. I'm not gonna panic with Gonzaga because they do have a difference maker, Drew Timme.
Yes.
They just sped their guards up. They sped those guards up, and I think there's some depth there, man. There's some quality guys. Malachi Smith is an experienced guard there. They need to get him in and maybe try to force feed Timme in a different way. They just outworked them, man. They just played harder. They were the tougher team, and their guard play, man, they kicked Gonzaga's ass.
Maybe, Gonzaga coming into this tournament season with a couple of notches on their belt and not 31-0 or 29-1 can help them. Because personally, when I was playing, the years that we were the best, we lost early, man, and it was kind of an eye opener for us, a humbling experience. And we started to listen, right? And we started to kind of come together as a team. And so maybe that's kind of what goes on with them. They got another big game coming up, obviously. So I love they're going at these heavy hitters, but they got to win one.
Well, they have to because they know when they get in the conference, no one in their conference can replicate the athletes and everything that they're going through right now. So they have to do this because they are talented and they are a national championship contender. And they need to play against these teams, one, for like you talked about, so coach can say, hey, I've told you this, to get their ear, because when they get in the conference play, they're going to lose, 2 games max when they get in the conference play?
Max. And now you have Kentucky on Sunday. That's now a fascinating game because here you have Kentucky earlier this week I see John shaking his head like, what went wrong there? Losing to Michigan State in a game that they should have won. Like Sunday, Timmy versus Sheboy. But here's the deal. Here's the deal in that game. Like, when I look at Gonzaga, and I think I heard it in both your voices, Jalen Suggs isn't walking through that door, and Andrew Nemhart's not walking through that door. Like right now, that backcourt, and to me, it's probably got to be Malachi Smith because of his experience level, but the playmaking side there, and it goes back to Michigan and Gonzaga. The more you look at it, might be similar just by virtue of the guard play is not in rhythm at this stage of the season.
Yeah, and I think that's just another factor of them figuring out who they are, right? You don't want to figure out who you are in a Sweet 16, right? And what you need and coming because I think that's what Gonzaga has been done. Done national championship. They played against Baylor. They ain't never seen no boys like that, right? Years before, same thing. So I think those guards will figure it out. They're better than they're showing, in my personal opinion. And them coming up against these blue chip guys that they see on the 5-star rankings, I think is only going to help them, later in the season. I think they'll be fine. I think Kentucky is going to be a real test for them. Obviously, Tshiebwe, Timmy. I would say National Player of the Year matchup, but they both got some work to do, especially with their teams being need to be win.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes a long way. Whoever plays well and whoever wins this game goes a long way toward them winning it because Timmy will bounce back. He's going to put up monster numbers. Yep. And John, going back to what we talked about before with the bigs, when you have a big like Timmy and those guys, if that guy isn't playing great, if he isn't dominating, you're putting him in ball screens and you're attacking him on the defensive end of the floor. And Timmy's not a great defender in space. So if you have to play through him better and they have to do a better job of letting him touch the ball just to control the pace and he's an efficient scorer. I mean, last night he was 7 of 10. He just needs to touch the ball to get more shots. If you don't feed a big, when you have a dominant big like Hunter Dickinson and Drew Timmy, like those guys, if you're not feeding him the ball, on the other team is attacking him. You're putting him in DHOs, dribble handoffs. I'm doing everything I can to get him out get him away from the basket, and he's spending so much energy on that. So you got to get those bigs going early. I mean, credit to Texas last night. Their guard play, they just mangled them, and they will fix that. We know they will, but you got to get Timmy the ball more.
You're right. Yeah, you don't use those bigs. They're used. I mean, they become almost like you say, useless.
Become
almost,
a liability
right?
in that aspect because they just guard it.
Because it's like, all right, we don't have him down there banging, collapsing the defense, getting those things going. And when you don't have that going and he's just, running up and down the court doing sprints, it's not good for anybody. You know what I'm saying?
You know what happens, John? And you could say this, and this happened in that Texas game. When a big touches the ball enough, when the extra guys start coming and they're coming for him, they're willing to pass it. But when you don't get it, then you find yourself trying to force it through the double team, which Timmy did a few times last night, trying to go up, got called, got some turnovers that way. And again, if he gets it early, I think he'll be more reluctant to kick it out, find guys, better spacing. And I would say that about all those bigs. I mean, they're really big, really good offensive guys, but you're going to attack them on the defensive end. And the way you're going to attack them is just attack their guards.
I used to say, this is NBA, but it's still the same thing. When Steven Adams, if they didn't feed him early, he was a lot easier to handle for the rest of the night.
Oh, it is. I mean, it is with every. But think about it. It's that way with every big because the one thing about a big is not a low post scoring big needs help getting the ball. And like I said, he got frustrated last night, and Timmy had 5 turnovers last night. He led him in turnovers, and it's because after a while you're trying to force it. Because you hadn't gotten a lot of touches. And that's something in his experience. He's trying to do more, and they'll figure it out. They're just too talented not to. So I'm not overly concerned about him. The question will be is after that Kentucky game, whoever loses that game, are you kidding me?
Ooh.
I know.
I know. Perry tried to warn us. He tried to warn us, though. He said this team isn't – he said this team isn't ready. He put out the tweet. He said, we're not ready, man. Don't worry about us.
Oh, yeah. You're the coach of Kentucky, okay? You brought back the reigning National Player of the Year. Don't tell me you're not ready. Enough.
John, I can tell you this, John. When we were at Champions Classic, the Kentucky fan base don't want to hear that shit either.
Yeah,
they don't want to hear it.
Man.
I know they. I'm just look. This is what he said. So that's kind of what.
Okay, Henson. Wait a minute. If you told a Carolina fan in November, we're just not ready. We're not ready.
Hey, I might tell them off camera, not on Twitter though.
Hey, they don't want the Tar Heels don't want to hear that either. They don't want to hear. We're not ready to defend. We're not ready to make a run at the night with Armando Bacot and Love and R.J. Davis.
Hey.
You got half the damn first team All ACC on a team that was one rebound from winning the Natty. Don't nobody want to hear that.
Hey, especially when our best player is 7-figure guy, man. We don't want to hear that, man. You know what I'm saying?
All right, we got 10 minutes left. This has been a treat. Talking to you two for 2 hours. So we have the question here. Because of some of the losses of Kentucky and Gonzaga, I want to hear what you guys think. And to give you another moment to make sure that your thoughts are collected, one of the questions we're asking tonight, we'll ask you in the YouTube chat. Who are the top 5 teams in college basketball at this moment? I'll give you my list very quickly. Houston 1.
Yes.
Hey,
Baylor 2. North Carolina's 3. They're still in the top 5. Then I go with Kansas because of what they showed the other night. And then I credit big wins. Okay? Texas would slide in there right now. And if they're not in there, they're just after. We could talk about Creighton. You could talk about Arkansas. You could talk about others. Where do you guys side with your top 5?
Go ahead, John.
Okay, the king is still the king of the castle. You can't demote the king if he hasn't got his crown taken off his head. So I'm going UNC, number 1. I love the way Houston's playing. I mean, they look really good. I can't wait to see them play against, somebody that's, of decent caliber. Baylor, I like Baylor, solid. They've got a squad. I'm going to go Kansas and Texas. Yeah, we're right there.
Texas win, but is at home. I think we'll get more as we get through some of these MTEs.
Sure.
We got similar teams. I'm going to keep UNC in there as well. I think they're adjusting to people wanting to beat the number 1 team. I'm going to add UCLA in there, and then we're going to find out more about them against after the Illinois game. No. Just in the 5, not necessarily number 1. I don't think the number 2. I think Houston's right there. I wouldn't argue Houston being 1 or 2. I think I'm just going off of. I said Carolina because where they were ranked to start the year. It's Houston's right there. I think Baylor and Kansas are right there. But I again, we're going to find out more from UCLA because let's be honest, Kansas wasn't that impressive. When we watched them play, they need to play better. There's things they need to to do better. They didn't shoot the ball well, and I don't know. That was our concern about that team going in is. If Grady Dick isn't shooting the ball well, I worry about Kansas' ability to shoot the ball. They were 3 of, I think, 19 from 3. And I don't know. That's not the strength of a lot of their guys. So they're going to be relying upon a freshman and some other guys stepping up in that area. But, UCLA, Kansas, Baylor, and Houston and UNC would be my 5.
Hey, head to field68.shop. Check out our merch. Rob Douster can't guard me. Fun Bell. Jeff Goodman can't guard me. The Friars. You got to check out the Friars shirt if you haven't yet. With the luck of the Friars, they got a big one on Saturday against Miami. So check that out. Field68.shop. All right, we got 7 minutes left. We have a big Friday. We have best bets with the 3-man weave crew every day. They'll give you their best bets tomorrow. We're sponsored by Bet Rivers, but we've got 7 minutes and we have big games. This is a huge Friday night of college basketball. Let's start at the Cintas Center. It's the first major test of the Sean Miller era. Colby Jones' status is up in the air with a sprained ankle. They welcome in the Xavier Musketeers, welcome in the Big Ten preseason frontrunner in the Indiana Hoosiers. John Henson, where do you side in this game?
I'm gonna probably go Indiana. Xavier, they play your guys heavy minutes. They don't have much of a bench. I think Indiana's going to wear them down, man. I like the coach Xavier has kind of implemented now. He's a good coach, so there's always a chance. But I do think Indiana's physicality and Jackson Davis and those guys are going to wear him down, man.
Indiana has to win this game.
Yeah,
they have to.
They have to win this game.
Why?
There's no other way. Because, again, one, they're expected to do it, but again, with everyone that's coming back, this is a new staff. coming to Xavier and everything else. I mean, this is relatively new. You have to come out and win this game. I think everybody's expecting this is a team that's being projected to possibly win the Big Ten. And coming out early on, you're returning all these players. You're returning a potential player of the year candidate, a first team All-American. This is one of those games early on you have to win if you want to be considered a Big Ten champion or even a team that people consider even a national championship contender. There's too much returning in Indiana. They need to take a step. And I think this is a game where they don't need to be hovering around. This is one of those games we'll look back on later in the year. If they're hovering around a bubble, this is the reason why last year they were. This is something they have to win. This is a game they got to step up.
All right. I'm going to step in here. Okay.
You got for me.
Okay. Sean Miller is facing the program that fired his brother.
But Sean Miller ain't playing.
No, he's not. But he's coaching. And he's twice the coach that Mike Woodson is in college basketball.
I don't know if I can agree with that. But say what you want. He doesn't have – who's the best player on the floor?
Trace Jackson Davis. He doesn't have the best player.
Kobe Jones is looking shaky, like his they need
I agree with Randolph. Indiana has to win this game for their confidence level, for all the preseason hype. The pressure is on the Hoosiers here. Because if you lose this game, don't tell me that players don't read stuff. Don't tell me that players don't look at stuff. The amount of criticism that Indiana will face if they lose this game is big. Now, Xavier does have the size to combat Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson. I'm talking about Jack Nungy, Zach Freeman.
They do.
Xavier's point guard situation is a little bit up and down. I mean, they're at this point relying on Sule Boom. Des Claude has been up and down. He's a freshman. Jones' status is the key to this game because if Xavier with Jones versus Xavier without Jones is such a difference. I think it's important for both. But I think to your point in terms of, here's what I'll say. It's extremely important for Indiana. When we talk conferences, though, this is a really important game for the Big East. The Big East does not have a big win on the year. And they need Xavier to come through tomorrow night because we'll turn to our second game here. We only got a couple minutes left. Villanova and Michigan State. John Henson, where do you side?
I mean, I like Michigan State. They're battle-tested, and I think they win that game. Villanova, obviously, is a good program, good team, but I got Michigan State kind of taking that one, man. They're ready. They're here. Izzo's got them back rolling again, physical, playing hard. I love the way they played, the grit they showed the last game, man. So I think that Michigan State's got that.
Okay.
I think it's the same, but until Villanova gets healthy and get everybody back, it's going to be hard. They're vulnerable right now, and until everybody's back and healthy, I think they'll be. I think Michigan State will overwhelm them.
All right, Virginia taking on Baylor. Big. This is a big game. Big game.
Yep.
Virginia virtually welcomes everyone back. Here, Baylor has Adam Flagler, L.J. Cryer. You got Kihei Clark on the other side and Jaden Gardner. I love this matchup. John, where do you side?
This is a classic impose your will styles of play. Baylor's averaging 87 points a game. They're scoring at a high rate. I mean, if you look at their starter stats, I mean, someone's going to have to play some defense or it's going to get ugly. So, but does Virginia come in and like their style of play? Because that's another team when I was playing that we could never really get away from how they play.
John, let's stop. You're not speeding them up. This game is there ain't this will not. If this is an 80-point game, it means I can't even imagine what happened. Right. It absolutely means Virginia, because now Virginia has been prone to go through some laws of 10 minutes or 12 minutes of not scoring a field goal. I don't think that'll be the case this year. Yeah. I think the pace, it'll be a great test for Baylor because we're talking about potential Big 12 and potential ACC champion. Both of them are 1 or 2 in those leagues right now, and no one would be shocked at the end of the season if the Big 12 champion is Baylor, and not a lot of people would be shocked if Virginia is the ACC champion at the end of the year. But it is a contradiction of styles. And I'm early on. I'm gonna go with the Wahoos.
Ooh, I like that. I mean, like you said, if they're going to compose their style of play, which they will do, I hate the double down. That was a team I hated playing against. So Baylor's gonna have a rough time tomorrow. I think they'll come out on top ultimately, but it's gonna be a change of pace. So we'll see if they can handle that.
John, they got two of the better defensive guards in the country on that team, on the Virginia team.
Yeah,
Reese Beekman and Clehead Clark.
All right, last but not least here, we've made our game picks. Our team of the night goes to a team that entered this evening, folks, having beaten Oklahoma, then coming off wins over someone named Southwestern Adventist and LeTourneau.
Where is that?
Out of the WAC. I don't know where it is. But they got wins over them. Out of the WAC, out of the Western Athletic Conference,
yeah.
Sam Houston beats Utah. Sam Houston has defeated Oklahoma and Utah. They're 4-0. So Randolph Childress, what is your message to at Goodman Hoops?
Oh, my message is they should be ranked in your top 25. I mean, early schedule. It should be like college football does. They let you play a few games and then they change the rankings. And so They should be right there with Grambling and be in the top 25. I think they got a better resume right now. Where's Jeff? Somebody tweet Jeff. Jeff should be tweeting this right now. Jeff should be tweeting this.
If he's got Grambling up there, I think Sam Houston handles Grambling, man. So
I mean, come on. It's a matchup with two top 25 teams in the country right now.
Needed to, trade that in for a little ESPN slot, so ESPN U slot somewhere, man.
Let's go, Sam Houston and Grambling. Hey,
Jeff's
we
top
love
25. Game of the night.
Paying it off. We love paying it off to the mid-major. Qua Grant with 20 of his 22 in the second half, and Sam Houston. They basically led Utah wire to wire. Second win over a Power 5 opponent. Congratulations to Sam Houston. That is the way we finish. My last question to Randolph Childress and John Henson is this. If we played in a 3-on-3 tournament, okay, you two in your prime, what would your immediate role for me be?
Can you keep the defense honest? We just need you to keep the defense honest.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe me and him go on one side of the court. You space.
Yeah.
Space.
Hey, we can set some screens for us. I think he can set some screens. I think he can set some screens and roll. And John can shoot it a little bit. So I can get you shaken up. I come off the ball screen with John. You shake up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
put this body in after some turkey next week.
I mean, honestly, if you can handle it a little bit, we can screen and roll with you, and you can.
No.
We're trying to win. We're trying to win now.
Okay, I didn't know. I don't know the skill level.
We all got roles. That's not his role right now.
No. I do know my role. If you could handle it a little bit, it's something that no coach, not even Father Tom back in 7th grade CYO, asked if I could handle. But I did score 28 in the St. Chris Holiday tournament back in the 8th grade.
There you go.
Okay. Shots were
All
falling.
you gotta do is make shots. Keep the defense honest. That's all. You're gonna get open looks. You're not gonna get a lot of looks. You ain't getting the ball a lot. You just stand there. When we pass it to you, it's only gonna be because we don't have a shot. And then you just take what we give you.
I'm gonna tell you what changed my trajectory on shooting threes in the NBA. Mike Budenholzer said, "Hey, we don't care if you make it. We need you to shoot it for the offense to work." There you go. You know what I'm saying? There you go.
This was gold. For producer Trevor Valise, John Henson, Randolph Childress. This is John Fanta saying, make the shots that you do get
There you go.
count.
Make them count.